Hello! Welcome back to the Introduction to the Linux Command Line on Bash the Command Line. Today we're going to be looking at a command called find. Find, funnily enough, helps you find files and directories. Today we're going to be looking at files and directories in the log files for starters. So let's cd to /var/log. And let's ls, just so you can get an idea of what's in here. I highly recommend that you spend some time poking around in these logs and learning what your computer is logging, what those logs look like, what a normal log is like, because when you have troubles with something, you can do a lot of troubleshooting by looking through these logs and figuring out what went wrong. All right, so let us find all the files named something.log. This is the simplest kind of thing that you might want to search for. So find dot, that dot means in our current directory, right? Dash name, because we want to find something by a certain name, quotation mark, the star, that's that wildcard again, dot log. And hit enter. And now we have all of the files called something.log that are in that directory and also recursively in the directories inside that directory. All right, so I could also find all of the files that are .log and then some more something, right? So this is going to give us those gzipped logs and logs that have .1, .2, etc. So we can find all of those. But you probably noticed, ls, not every log is .log. We've got that one right there, last log. There's right here. We've got last log. That doesn't even have a dot. And then we've got things like mintsystem.timestamps. That doesn't have log at it. Or wtmp. It doesn't say log at the end of it. Right? Fail log also doesn't have a dot in it. So we wouldn't have found those. Right? So how would we have found those logs? We could have just said, we want to find all the things that are just something log. Right? We still wouldn't have found timestamps, but we would have found other logs like that fail log and last log. Right? Okay. So I can also look for files that have been accessed, modified, or had their status changed in a specific amount of time. This might be useful specifically if you're looking for something that you know happened in a specific piece of time, but you don't know what it is that happened, right? So let's find a file in the current directory and below that was modified a certain number of minutes ago. So I'm going to say modified in the last 30 minutes. So minus 30 means everything up to 30. And those are everything that's been modified in the last 30 minutes. If I did 60, this would give me apparently pretty much the same thing. Fresh clam has been changed in 60 minutes, but not in the last 30 minutes. So I could also say specifically exactly 60 minutes ago. And that's going to be a much smaller list. Oh, it just happens to be that freshclam.log was modified 60 minutes ago. That's interesting. We can also find things that were modified a certain number of days ago. So time n standing for number, the n is times 24. So find anything that was modified 3 days ago, or find anything that was modified up to but not including 3 days ago. And it's going to be different. Okay. So the other options here are A for access and C for status change. I recommend that you go through, try these things out, look at the timestamps on them and see how they're different, and try to figure out how they work. You'll also, of course, learn more from looking at the man page. Let me show you really quickly how we can just send this straight to ls. So find allows us to execute a command, and we're going to execute ls-la. Actually, we could just do -l. We don't really need the a. And then we're going to do these funky brackets, and then we're going to do single quote, semicolon, single quote. And then it will display everything for us along with the timestamps. So that's a good way for you to explore exactly how these commands work. Now, let's say I want to find all of the files and directories that are owned by root. Okay, because if I ls-l here, I can see that a lot of them are owned by root, but not all of them, right? So I can say find in this directory all of the type F for all the files that are owned by user root. And that's everything that's owned by user root. Now, what if I wanted it to be everything that is not owned by user root? I can put an exclamation point and a space here. So everything of type file that was not owned by user root. Now again, if I want to see this a little bit more clearly, and not just names, but actually see the whole listing, I can do that. -execute, -exec, ls-l, curly brackets, single quote, semicolon, single quote. Now let's take a look at this, and you can see everything that's not owned by the user root. Now I can do the same thing with, this time we're going to do group, and let's do the group ADM. Okay, what files are owned by ADM? And that's all of them. Now what files are owned by, by not ADM? Anybody but ADM. Boom, all of those files are owned by not the group ADM. Okay, so what's next? Let us find in the current directory all of the directories, type D, not type F. Type F is file, type D is directory. All of the directories that are empty. Do I have any empty directories here? Yes, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 empty directories here. And I can also find executable files. So for this one, I'm gonna move, let me su to bleepy, because bleepy has those files. What was my password for bleepy? Do you remember? Of course you don't remember, because I didn't tell you. There we go. Hopefully that was the password. But let's try that again. Su bleepy. There we go. Now I'm in bleepy. Let's go to bleepy's home directory. I'm going to clear so we're back up at the top of the file. So we specifically want to find executable files in this directory. So let's find dot executable. Who's executable here? Those are all the executable files. You'll notice that there's some config, a file called config that's executable. Oh, those are our directories. The directories say they're executable. Let's find specifically type file that are executable. There we go. Now we've got 3 files that are executable, that are actually files that are actually executable. Good to know. Okay, of course, if I wanted to find out more about those, again, I could do this like we did before, and we can actually see who owns them, who can execute them, etc. by going straight to ls. So that's enough for today. Surprise, surprise, you actually already know more ways to use the find command than most of the Linux users that I know, because most of them will just use find name and then pass things to grep. And so next lesson, we're going to be learning about grep, and then we're going to learn how to combine grep and find to do cool things, and you'll discover that there's more than one way to skin a cat. Alright, so if you like this series, please share it with your friends. I don't have very many subscribers yet, and literally this is the one thing I'm waking up in the morning to do other than taking care of my grandchildren. So please hit the subscribe button, hit the notify button, share with your friends, tell everybody how great this is. Give me a pat on the head or a comment or something. Make me feel like I'm not so alone. Thank you. Bye.